Hey everyone, it's Cathy Zielske. Welcome back to my channel and the craft/dining room. I've got a fun pair of card projects to share with you today that feature a really simple way to add color behind a die cut. I'm sure this technique has been done a million different ways, but I did it for the first time, so for me, it's as fresh as can be. This video is a bit longer. I recorded it live and chopped it down a little, but hopefully you'll find some inspiration, and I think you should try this technique because I think you will love it. Those cards are coming up next. So here's a look at the star of this card today. It is a cool, let's see if I can pick it up here, balloon die. Look at that thing. I am so excited about the cards I'm going to make today because I'm going to use this in a way that will allow me to create a little stencil, if you will, and you'll see how it's all going to shake out. The first set of inks I'm going to use, I'm going to be painting with. So I've got distress inks. The second set of inks I'm going to be using, I'm going to do some ink blending. So we'll get into that shortly. I'm going to be doing my painting on some Tim Holtz Distress Watercolor Cardstock because I love how bright white this is. And I will be using Neenah Solar White Classic Crest for both cards, one for card base and one for my ink blending. So let's get into this project and start with card number one. So what I'm going to do is I've got a panel. This is just trimmed to US A2, so it's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, standard US A2. And what I'm going to do is just take my little guy here, put some of this Easy C purple tape on, and I'm going to go ahead and run this through my die cut machine. I'm just going to run this through my Gemini Junior, my electric die cut machine. I keep this a little bit away from the area that I filmed, but this die cut machine has been a wonderful addition to the craft/dining room. So we'll go ahead and get that cut out. And we'll pop this off here, get out the piece. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to save the actual die cut of the balloon pieces because I actually need a few of these. And let's get this out here. All right. So I'm going to save this and set it aside because I'm going to cut out a couple more of these so that I can actually stack them for my card project. But the part that I want to start with today is this because I'm going to use this as sort of a homemade stencil or guide for adding color to my project. So I'm going to take this piece, and it is the same size as my Tim Holtz Distress watercolor paper, and I'm just going to tape it together so it doesn't move. And the fun thing is, what I'm doing is so easy. This is so easy, and even if it ends up getting messy, it's going to be fine because it's going to look amazing. So let me get all of my distress colors here, and we'll get to painting. So sometimes I use my water media mat, and sometimes I use this little guy, which I really love too. It's from Art Impressions, I think. But I'm just going to smush some of that pink onto the corner. I think it's a little harder to get the big pads. I only have the full size of the Kitsch Flamingo. I've got picked raspberry here, popping that down. Just working in rainbow order, spiced marmalade next. We'll go into the mustard seed. I tend to use the same colors over and over because I feel like once you kind of figure out what you know is going to work for you, nothing wrong with sticking with colors that work, right? Twisted Citron, little peacock feathers, and wilted violet. And I may have to bump these up a little, which oftentimes I do because the water tends to dilute them. But those are the colors, and now we're going to start painting. I'm going to work my way around in rainbow order, get a little clean water here. And I'm going to start, let's see, I think I'm going to start with the lightest color, which is the Kitsch Flamingo. So I don't want it to be too wet, but I'm going to pick that up, okay? And what I'm going to do, I'm going to move it over here. I'm going to just, and I have to move my paper because I'm not that talented as a painter. I'm going to start painting in the guide of this balloon, okay? And again, if I don't get it perfect up at the top, it's totally fine. And here's the other beautiful thing about this. This does not have to be perfect. And that is the beauty of this particular approach to painting. I'm going to get a little more here, pick up some of that darker shade, kind of come in on the side to create a little shadow. This is about the extent of my understanding of light and shadow. you put a little bit more on one side, right? Totally gonna work. But we are just adding in our first color for our balloon. Now I'm gonna move, because I'm gonna go with the darker pink, the lighter pink. Right here I'm gonna do orange, and then I'm gonna move into yellow, and then follow the rainbow order. So while that's drying, I'm gonna come over and pick up my yellow. And I'm gonna add my mustard seed in here in the center. And again, you're just kind of eyeballing, right? I hold down the paper a little just to kind of keep it, you know, from completely going under the area. But if it does, it's no big deal, and you'll see why. So I'm just gonna kind of free form that balloon area, paint it in, come to the edge there, okay? Getting that first little wash in, and then I'm gonna come over here without dipping my brush to try to add a little more yellow, darker over here. And of course, I can come back in and add more to that. That's where too, you can always take your, you know, ink pad, press it back down, pick up a little more just of the darker, more intense version, and just, you know, come over and kind of do that, all right? Just for a little shade and shadow. I'm gonna come up and do the blue because that isn't gonna touch the yellow at all. You aren't gonna have anything messy here overlapping, but I am gonna, again, hold that kind of down just so that I can go around and paint that balloon in. See how easy this is? It's just like a messy, easy way to add color. But it's all gonna make sense soon because the die cut is gonna look amazing over the top of this. All right, and that here, we're just adding that little bit of shadowing in. Then I'm gonna add a little more water here and then just sort of blend that out. And again, you know, just adding a little shadow on that. So simple. Let's come over here to our purple. Gorgeous wilted violet. And again, just gonna hold that down like that. Just paint in my color. And you could do any series of colors. You can also use any kind of inks. I mean, I use distress inks lately a lot for painting because I feel like I'm getting pretty good at it. And I find distress inks to be far less intimidating than my watercolors. All right, coming in with a little darker, right? I just smushed a little more down and just going around like that. The other thing that I think is fun about this is you could do this technique with any die cut that you have, like any die, cut out the die, right? Especially if it's some kind of shape or outline, and you can do this. All right, let's come in with the picked raspberry. So now that this is mostly dry, I think it's dry, I'm gonna just follow the line here and kind of visualize that right there, because I want to have an overlap, right? And this is a darker color, and we are gonna darken it up a little more, take some of that. I also feel like the more I do this, the more comfortable I get with putting down color and trying to figure out water, right? Like that's something that I think when I first was starting to make cards kind of was really challenging for me. Like, how much water do I need in my brush? How do I get it to blend and look really pretty? And I think I'm getting better. You know, it's practice. I'm never gonna be a Matisse here, but I'm also gonna fill that in there. Okay, well, maybe a little more right there. Oop, got a little water in there, and that is totally fine. I'm actually gonna take this and dab it right there. Okay, I'm gonna come in here with my orange, and I want this to be, you know, somewhat saturated, but we're gonna do the orange, and again, I'm just holding this down a little bit, and I don't know what I just got on my brush there, but it looks kind of mucky. Go like that, it'll be fine. A little bit like that, and paint. I also love this because it doesn't require a ton of skill. And it's not like I'm doing magical blends of colors together, right? Although I think I got a little dark with that right there, and that's okay. It's fine. If there's a little overlap, I'm gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. A little darker over here. And paint that in. Okay. Yeah, I did get a little dark up there, but it's gonna work, because now we're gonna move on to our final color. Pump that up. I think my pad's a little dry. I have a re-inker. Just haven't used it in a while, so I'll probably go over this a few times. I'm gonna be careful though, again, not to touch the green to the orange. But let's come in here and let's make our green balloon. So we have a nice bit of rainbow order, right? And I can't wait for you to see what happens when the magic of putting the die cut over this happens. Now the thing is too, this die is really cool. You can piece in colored pattern paper. Oh, that would be really cute. I don't use pattern paper enough in card making. But I think this is a fun way to create color as well. So let's get just a little more twisted citron in there. Like this. And again, any ink pads you have, any dye ink pads you have, you can use for this technique, right? Because you just pick them up with water and they just move on your paper. All right, I think that looks really good. Now it's time for my little reveal. So let's, and again, because I'm going to save this, and I think I'm going to use it on my second card. I could have a fresh template, because what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to do this also with just ink blending. But now when I pick this up, I have these balloons. See? Came from that, my own little stencil. I am going to die cut and stack balloons over the top to create this fun panel with a little bit of messy color in the background. How cute is that? I think it's adorable. All right, I'm gonna let this dry. I'm gonna go ahead and die cut a few more of these out so I can glue them together. So next thing, I'm going to take a couple of these guys, right? Put them in my little box that I keep. This is just like a shipping box from Simon Says Stamp. I keep it off to the side of my dining room table, and I always just put a clean piece of cheap copy paper in, and I'm going to use my spray adhesive to spray on the backs of these so that I can stack 3 of them together. So I'm going to go ahead and spray that off camera. I just don't like to spray around where I'm filming, and we'll go ahead and glue all these together. Just going to kind of start on one side because I feel this is hard to do. I feel like if I start it on one side, it's going to up my chances of getting these lined up. Because when you use spray adhesive, it's pretty firm. Like it's really going to adhere fast, and you have very little wiggle room. So let's just focus on getting these guys lined up. That. Okay, press that and press that together like that. I don't know. I think I did a pretty good job, my friends. All right. Wait, see this one is not, see how that's not lined up? You can also use your reverse tweezers to kind of pull things together. I think I have enough glue on there. My spray mount is getting a little empty. Okay, press. Press. And let's get the next piece down from the box. I've made a lot of mistakes with the gluing part, but the balloons are pretty easy once you get the tops done. But I wanted to create some dimension here because I think this is going to be really cute. This is a challenging die cut to line up, but I promise you, worth the effort. All right, let's let that adhere. I want to have a subtle margin, right? So this is what I like to do. Bring this in here like this, just kind of figure out where that's going to go, and then overlay this, right? And then kind of hold this down to figure out top and bottom, side to side. Going to tape that down like that, and I will go ahead and cut this panel out off camera with my die cut machine. So now I have this beautiful panel, and it actually kind of helps to flatten it out, although I didn't have a lot of water on there, right? Look at that. And here's the beautiful thing about this. It's not perfect, right? There's a little, paint or distress ink that spills out. That's totally fine, right? We're totally good with that. See? That's going to be fine that there's an overlap in there. In fact, I could actually wet it down a little and try to dab it up. Should we try that and wet it down a little? because you know Distress ink reacts with water. Yeah, it's probably not going to do much. And it's okay. I'm okay with this. But I thought that if we put a little water in here, it might help. Actually, I think all that's going to do is pick up, well, you know what? That's not bad. I think we actually did do something there. Okay, let's move on to the next step. There is also a set called Balloon Bouquet, and this is more like if you wanted to stamp and color these, and there's a coordinating die for this as well. I'll show you because I have them both. But I want to just use one of these little greetings, like even just happy birthday, friend. And here's what I can't decide. I don't know if I want to just have a little bar going across, but I think that I might do that. But you could also just stamp a greeting on the inside of your card too. You know, you don't always have to have a greeting on the front. But if I put this on a little panel and popped it down there over the bouquet, I think that could be really cute. The question is, do I want to do this in black, right? So a little pop of contrast, or do I want to do it in like a gray? Because gray is kind of sweet too, and I feel like I don't do that very often. So let me get set up to stamp. So I'm going to get some white powder and some embossing ink here. And I'm going to grab a piece of cardstock. This is Simon Says Stamp Fog. It is a really lovely, light, beautiful cardstock. And there might not be enough contrast, but you know what? Here's what we're going to do today. I'm going to stamp a few greetings because I'm not sure which one I want to use. And the other thing is too, you can always stamp multiple greetings at once and just keep a stash of them, right? And I'm not sure which width is going to work the best for me. So I'm going to pick that up here, reposition my paper, and here's another little hot tip. Because I've never used these before, I'm just going to rub my finger over each stamp, because the photopolymer stamps do get a little coating residue in the production process, and these stamps get conditioned over repeat stampings, right? They're going to stamp better and better every time. But if you ever get stamps and your first impressions are terrible and you think, what am I doing wrong? You're not doing anything wrong. All you need to do is just make sure you condition them. Sometimes too, I'm going to stamp them off a few times, but I'm not going to do that today. I'm just going to go ahead and start with my first pass and we'll see how it goes. And if it's terrible, I'll just redo it off camera. Oh, first things first. Where's my mind? Another important thing, some sort of a powder tool. Why? Because you wouldn't think there's oil and static on your cardstock, but there is. And so if you ever have powder that sticks everywhere when you're trying to do any kind of stamping with embossing ink, get yourself a powder tool. There's another one by EK Success. I have that one too, but I just tend to use the bag more. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. Ink up really well with the embossing clear sticky ink. Close that up, move this over, and I'm going to grab my Debbie tool. This bad boy has been helping me stamp pain-free because I can come at my Misty from the side, and it just allows me to add some pressure to the door. This is based on a tool that was made for my friend Gina Kay, right? She had a guy named Chuck make her a tool, but Chuck doesn't want to sell the tools from what I've heard, and so many people are starting to make them. They're handmade, and my friend Debbie is selling this tool, and I think people are loving it because that's really pretty in your craft space. Okay, well, let me make sure. I was talking. Was I adding the pressure that was required? I believe so. Next. Oh, yeah, you can even see the greeting there, right? That looks fantastic. All right, I'm just going to sprinkle on some Simon Fine Detail White, like that. Now this is going to be a very subtle greeting strip, right? White on fog is subtle, but I'm kind of going for subtle with this. See that there? Oh, that looks pretty good actually. Go a second time, and just let that sit for a minute. Tap it off, and I think that's ready. Freddy. So I'm going to funnel this back in like that. So easy, right? Also, just give it a little quick blow to make sure all your extra powder's off, but I think this is going to look good. All right. Bring the heat tool and melt the powder. Don't have to hit it very long. It melts very quickly. And those look fantastic. So I'm going to cut these out with my Simon label dies to get them ready for my card. Truth be told, this is my second most used die set. And I'm actually cutting these apart because I want to run them through individually. So, cutting these out, and then I take one of these dies. They're very, I will say, they're kind of hard to get your hands on because they sell out every time they're back in. But I'm telling you, this die, oh, that's good. See that? I think that depth, because I don't think this one will fit. Like if I flip this up, well, yeah, that's going to be, I don't like the smushed closeness of that one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tape this into place with some purple tape, and I'm going to cut all of these greetings out on using my die cut machine off camera. But I'm just going to make sure. See, the thing I love about this is, for me, I can't really cut these out very straight. And so if I do this, even if the greeting is stamped, like even if I center this off just a little bit, at least the strip itself is going to be perfectly straight. And I think this is, you know, there's just some die sets that are so all-purpose and you can get so much use out of them for card making. Plus, I never use them, but they also come with little flag notch things for the edges, but I almost never do that with mine. It's just a personal preference. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out all these greetings. So now I've got these perfectly trimmed strips, but I'm going to show you, I show this in a lot of videos, but this is my favorite tip for getting them perfectly cut side to side, because you know, I know you can just grab scissors, but I don't. What I do is I take the greeting, I line up the furthest most right letter or exclamation point or whatever it is, right? Hold down my guard and cut. Then when I flip it and repeat it, do the same thing on the other side, drop that guard, and my paper trimmer is really dirty, I apologize for that, and cut. And I have a perfectly centered greeting strip as well from side to side. That's the way I trim them down, so I'll go ahead and cut those too, because again, I'm not sure what I'm going to use for my card yet. I want to move into the second card that I'm going to create today, because I feel like this will all make sense once it comes together. So I'm going to take that little guy, right? I'm going to tape this down again, and here's what we're going to do. Blender brushes, okay? Got all my blender brushes here, and I've grabbed a host of Simon Says stamp inks that I am going to use now to do the same idea, but I'm going to do ink blending instead. Now what I'm going to do here though is I'm just going to use some full-size Post-it notes, because I do want to mask off a little more with my ink blending. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do, well, let's see, I'm just going to try that first, right? Because the ink blending, I feel like with a paintbrush, you have a little more control over what you're doing, but when you have your little blender brush, you don't. So I'm just going to rub this, and I could do it on my cloth too, but I seem to have misplaced my cloth. I'm going to take my first color here, Cotton Candy. I'm just really going to load up my brush until I can start to see it on my paper. And then what I'm going to do here is kind of the same idea that I did before. I'm just going to come in here and actually, you know what? Just to be on the safe side, I'm going to mask this too. So the other thing that's nice about when you're masking, it's actually going to hold your homemade stencil in place a bit, and I think that's kind of cool. So all I'm going to do here is just, you know, again, go in the circle shape. It's okay, right, if this color goes into the other balloon, because I'm going to take a darker pink to overlap there, okay? So there's my first color, Cotton Candy. Now, I'm going to use the same brush, and I do this a lot when I'm ink blending. I don't use brand new brushes for each one. I have my little pink clip here, right? And that just says to me, oh, Cathy, this is where you use your pink colors. And as long as you wipe it off, it's going to be fine. So here's what I'm going to do. Now that line looks pretty harsh, but don't worry about it, because we're going to mask this too, yeah, right about there. And we're going to load up And this is dull pink. So this is a much brighter color. And then I'm just going to come over here and go like that. Now maybe I shouldn't have had that as masked as I had it. You know what? Come to think of it, probably didn't need to do that. So let's, but we're going to go over this enough that hopefully it'll make up for it. But I think too, you know, it will create sort of a transition area. And if I bring over my stacked guy here, yeah, I think that's going to be fine. Although I would like it to be a little darker off to the side, and I would like to try to create that little transition area. Okay, so be not so aggressive with your masking. Do as I say, or something like that. All right, we're still going to tape some things off though. All right, now what color are we going on to next? We are going to move on to this guy. And for this guy, I want this. Well, actually though, I kind of do want to have my yellow. Do I want to do my yellow next? My yellow is going to be a color called Goldenlocks. And actually, I think I am going to do my yellow next. And I am going to mask off the top of that guy. And I'm going to mask off that too. Because again, I don't want my brush to overlap. And I wanted to put the yellow down first because I think I want to see how the transition is going to look when I bring in, it's not really an orange, but you'll see. All right, so we're coming in here and filling in our yellow. And it's okay, right, if it goes a little bit into where I'm going to be putting green, because, you know, these transitions, the transitions are cool. Where you get that overlap, it's kind of cool. I'm going to bring in a color called Hot Lips. So this is sort of a pinky orangey color, and I guess I'm going to grab my orange brush for this. Yeah, I probably could use the pink too, but we're gonna go like this. And again, focusing primarily in the center, right? But I'm gonna go like that. And actually, what I don't want is I don't want that to end up in the green. So again, I was kind of envisioning where the overlap will be and blending this color in. See, it's kind of a reddish color, kind of like that. So we'll go in like that, give a little, have that nice little overlap area. And again, like most dye inks, what happens is this will sort of, you know, it dries back a little smoother. So we're going to move on to green apple. I don't want any green going on my purple. And we'll just come in here. And also, it doesn't really matter if you ink blend right into those little balloon lines either, because they're going to be covered up with the dye for the most part. I mean, I try to stay a little out of them, but it's really not going to make much of a difference. All right, getting a little transition blend area in there. And let's just get that over there like that. And then we're coming over here and we'll do the last two colors, Surf Blue. And again, get my blue guy out there. Well, there's nothing on that. I haven't used these in a while, so I definitely try to keep certain brushes for dye ink pads and certain brushes for oxides, because that just, I think that for me makes it easier to keep it clear. And keep coming in at the top till I get it to be blue. You can see that starting to show up. All right, it's a very pretty light color. Hot Mama, Hot Mama. It's actually sort of this pinky purple. So again, grab this, load up my brush. I know that this one is a pretty deep color. I'll load up my brush, and I can tap too on you. You don't have to have a scratch paper if you have something on top. But here, we're just going to come in with some Hot Mama. Bring that in. Look at that. It's so purpley. It's a really cool color. And who doesn't want to be a hot mama? Well, I don't know if that's true. I can't really back that up. All right, blend in, but I'm gonna get a little more in there. A little more hot mama, because I want that one to have a little more pop to it. But again, whatever inks you have on hand, it's so easy to work in a rainbow order. And here, there's a little overlap there, no big deal, right? Because those actually transition into one another beautifully. Let's peel it and reveal it. Ah, ah. That is background number 2. And what's cool is I'm going to let this dry while I work on the other card. How fun is that? It's a totally different effect, right? Oh, I think it's so cute. Okay, let's start making cards now, actually creating the whole thing. We'll get back to the first background. So let's prep card base number 1. This is going to be US A2 top folding, 4 1/4 wide by 5 1/2 tall, which is a size I do most of the time. I'm going to press that down, my bone folder, and then I'm going to take my little piece of tape my card panel closed because I have to have my cards flat, otherwise I can't line them up. Like, it's hard for me to see what I am doing. So you could also use a little repositionable adhesive. So I've got some foam tape on the back here. The nice thing about the foam tape too, and of course you can use, Fun Foam is a lot cheaper, totally cheaper, but I just ran out and I still have a big roll of this, so that's what I do. But the thing that I like about it, it also helps to flatten your panel once you have it, on the back. Although this isn't very warped. I gotta say, there's not a lot of water on this project, so I'm just gonna line this up. I feel like I'm not quite there. Looking right over the top here. And we are going to press. All right, pressing that down. Now, what we need to do is I need to add my adhesive to the back here. I'm going to use a liquid adhesive for this because I feel like it's a little more reliable when you're going on to something that's a little textury like I am. But you know what I can't find? I got to find my tweezers. Put little dollops all the way around at intervals. I'm gonna go all the way down too, because you want to make sure, especially cover the ends so those don't lift up. All right, we're getting it all on here, and now I'm gonna place this down. The nice thing about the liquid glue too, it just gives you a little more time to kind of wiggle, right? You don't have to be so worried about committing to perfection. But the beautiful thing about this project is the little bit of overspill, that's fine, that's cute, right? It's handmade. So if we have a little bit of that water spilling out of the balloon, I think it adds to the charm. So I'm gonna let this adhere, and then I'm gonna add my greeting. All right, this has adhered nicely to the card front. And next I'm going to take this greeting. I'm not even gonna worry about popping this up because I don't wanna pop it up. All I'm gonna do is just put one little strip of glue like this. I mean, it could be thinner. This is a little overkill. I'm just gonna kind of smush it in like this a little bit, because all this is gonna do is where it makes contact, it's going to adhere. And I'll show you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get the ruler out here first, because if I don't have the ruler out, I don't know how to make it straight. But I'm gonna kind of pick up right like that, okay? I'm gonna make sure this is centered from side to side, like that, with that hanging off. Let's get it centered here. I just want to double check before I commit. So I'm going to bring in my T-square, just kind of come up like that. And I think that looks straight. Let's press that down. Oh my gosh. How cute is that? I'm going to let that adhere. Give it a second. And that, oh, I think this is so cute. Now, sure, you could put some sparkly things on here. I'm not going to right now because I just think this on its own is really, really sweet, right? A little bit of watercolor or distress ink hanging out. It's totally fine. Let's move on and finish off the second card. So to finish this card, and you can even see how the ink is smoothed out a little bit from when I blended it, I am going to take this whole panel and just use a little dot runner here and adhere this full size to the card base. I probably could have done this directly on the card base. I didn't. And sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just really want to keep it separate because I don't know. Like, I could have trimmed this down, but instead I've got my US A2 card base ready to go. I'm pressing it right into the corner of the score buddy, and then I'm going to bring this in too. This is one of my little fast tips for lining things up. You can also do this with a stamping tool, but it just allows you to get a card base perfectly aligned with ease. So there you go. So now I want to show you what we're going to do next. I have a jelly roll pen, and I'm channeling my inner Christina Warner here because I thought it would be cute if I just, and I want to show you how this looks there. Isn't that cute? Oh my gosh, it's so cute. I think I'm just going to add some details to my balloons. Now, if this doesn't turn out perfectly, that's fine. I'm going to get a little scratch paper here and just get my pen going like that. And I think what I'm going to do is just, you know, just add some details, right? Some polka dots to one balloon here, like that. I think that would be cute. And I'm going to add some stripes, so wish me luck, because this is probably not my strong suit. But I'm just going to draw some stripes and just kind of keep them contained within where I think the balloon is, right? Or the body. Okay? And then I can just go like this so I can be like, is that right? Okay, stripes here, or I mean polka dots. These Jelly Roll pens really are great. This is the only white pen that I have that doesn't completely, what's the word? Get blocked. So I have 2 of these and they have lasted quite a while. So if you're looking for a good quality white pen, check out the Jelly Rolls. I think they're good. Okay, a few more dots here. This one has smaller dots. I think I will do bigger dots down here. And again, you know, it's random. I don't usually do well with random, but I'm trying to kind of get out of my little creative comfort zone, because why not? What fun am I going to have if I just stay there? Good question. I'm just posing it. And these stripes too. I could bring out a ruler, but I'm not going to. Living on the edge. Or living on a prayer? I don't know. Bon Jovi people, you'll have to let me know in the comments below if I said that wrong. Okay, I'm just going to let this dry for a second before I pop this on. And I actually, you know what? I think I'm going to bump up this because I think these got lost. I think I was not coloring them. They're small, but I should have added a little more ink. And that's the nice thing too with the Jelly Roll. Just, you know, go back over it. Add a little more to it. And I'm going to let that dry. All right, I've gone ahead and again dotted on liquid adhesive right over the balloons. Like that. Get that over a little to cover up where the ink showed up. Oh my gosh, that's let's be real, that's adorable. Okay, pressing that down again. Give that liquid adhesive a little time to dry. And you know, if any oozes out, it's fine. It's going to dry clear and no one's going to see it. So I'm going to let that dry. All right, I put my little strip of liquid adhesive on the back here. Oh, I'm covered with liquid adhesive. Get that out of there. And now I'm going to do the same thing, right? I'm just going to come in here and actually, you know what? I'm going to do a little swipe here because I got a little extra adhesive showing out there, but I think that's fine. And you can even use your finger, come to think of it. Oh, don't move that. Get back in there. Just totally knocked it off its base. But I think it's going to be okay. And what we're going to do is I'm going to drop this down. Same idea. Same from side to side. I'm going to bring in the ruler just to make sure it's straight. And that looks good. And press. Oh my gosh, that is so cute. All right. Going to let that adhere. And we're almost done. And that is card number 2. Isn't that cute, right? Just a fun way to take a die cut, right, and fill it in. So there's 2 different looks, right? One, you got the fun little watercolor background. This one, ink blended with a little hand-drawn details. And of course, if you wanted to step it up a bit, you could add sequins. I'm not going to because I think this video has already gone long enough. But I hope this inspires you to take a look at the dies that you have, especially shape dies, and how can you die cut and instead of filling them in with the negatives of the die, add color in different ways by creating your own unique stencil. Thanks so much for watching today. I would love to have you become a subscriber to my YouTube channel. And if you do subscribe, be sure to hit the gray bell below the video so that you don't miss the next time I post. Here are a couple other videos that you might be interested in watching. Thanks so much and have a great day.